Of Successful Women. Today I am interviewing the beautiful Carrie Benedet, who is a leadership coach, emotional intelligence specialist. She's a speaker, she's a podcast host. We're going to be talking all things global leadership because that's her specialty niche. Carrie comes with 24 years of industry experience in creating, leading and hosting leadership experiences, programs and courses internationally. She has a global conference presence, definitely. And she's also got her own podcast, Thriving Matters. So welcome to the program, Carrie.
Oh, thanks, Annie. What a lovely roundup. When you listen to those, you just go, whoa, do I do all of that? It's just pretty amazing, isn't it?
I'm happy to make you sound amazing because you are amazing, right? I know. It's just that we don't say it ourselves. We're like, yeah, right. I'm doing pretty well.
I wonder if that's something about our generation. My daughter will say to me, Mum, you girls, we talk about you, our mums, not in a bad way, but just realizing that you really were trailblazers. You got into a position where you were doing a lot. Part-time work was coming in, and we had our families, and
and we juggled big families. I know you've got 4 kids. I've got 5 kids. It's like, oh my gosh, like you're just doing a lot. You're trying to do it all right. We are the era of super women.
Well, I did. Every now and then I hear myself say, I just tried to be Mrs. Perfect. And,
I had 2 sets of twins in 2 years, so I unfortunately didn't have that luxury. I could not be perfect even if I tried.
Oh, hats off to you. My gosh, you are a superwoman. Would you believe I've got a Wonder Woman suit? I've got the costume.
Oh, I love that.
I bought it for my grandkids because there's 7 little Australians at the moment, and that's just the joy, isn't it? But I've been, sort of tagged or tempted by others to dress up, so I put it on. People just go, oh my God, I can't believe she does that.
I know, I love it. When you get to our age, let's just say, you just get a little bit quirky and eccentric, or more so than you were before, and I absolutely love it. I've got the same. I've got a tiara, and I just walk it around and go, Mum. They go, oh, Mum's just gone queen mode again, and I'm like, yep, totally, just rocking it. I'm just getting my little mojo here. It's like queens can do anything, so I'm just recentering.
Well, you're a monarch of something, aren't you, really? And it's a monarch of the family,
And we're going to have so much to talk about today because we are both educationalists, really, by, part of our profession. We're passionate about education and leadership. We also can talk about Kokoda because you trekked Kokoda on your 50th birthday, and I was going to trek Kokoda, but, a global pandemic happened and I haven't got there yet. But that's okay. We always, put things on the list. And I love, after Google stalking you, to find out one of your passionate mantras is, to give it a red hot go or something like that. And I'm like, yes, I love this woman because, I'm all about that. Just give things a red hot go, even if, red hot shot, I think yours is, because even if you've got no idea, 1, it's hilarious trying, and 2, keeps you definitely real and grounded. And it's just a lot of fun along the way. So we're going to have so much to chat about today. Let's start about your career. How did Carrie become an international expert in leadership?
Well, I think she just gave, as she said, a red hot shot. I was fortunate in the work I was doing in a large educational organisation to be introduced to the new director of HR at the time, who said, Carrie, you're going to be working with the Middle Leaders program. And this is what we're going to do. We're going to bring emotional intelligence in. We're going to be using Genos International, which is the absolute amazing company by Dr. Ben Palmer here in Australia. And Ben, I would call a friend. I was speaking with him on Friday, and he has since set up a European arm of the business and a North American arm of the business. And he really is the best. Daniel Goleman, when he talks about EI or emotional intelligence in Australia, goes, go to Genos International and Ben Palmer. I was fortunate enough to do a lot of training with him, and then I managed a middle leadership program for our educational coordinators, or what we call KLA coordinators, or middle management in our schools, the system here in Australia. And I wish, Annie, I wish I had known all about this when I was a young mum. I went, oh my God, because it's about your own self-awareness and how aware you are of others. So it starts to pique your antennae, right? So I got an opportunity like that. And then the boss called me and she said, so by the way, you're also going to be commencing a program of coaching for our experienced principals to coach our beginning principals. And I went, right, I better go and learn how to do this. So I went to Growth Coaching International here in Australia. And at the time, then I subsequently did some more PD for myself. I got involved. So I have coaches of my own. So I'm not just someone that sprouts it. I actually walk the talk. So, and that's what you do when you're a Kokoda gal. You walk the talk because, oh my gosh, when you're walking that track, that's what you're doing. You're doing a whole lot of talking, a whole lot of
It's a lot of talking time and a lot of oh shit time. I'm imagining as you're walking through the swamps and doing all of that sort of thing. And absolutely. And I love that attitude of, well, I'll just, I've been given an opportunity here. I'll just learn and grow through it. And I absolutely think you're just blessed, and what a golden opportunity to be trained by the best. And, there's plenty of people out there doing different things, but you can confidently go, well, you know what, I've got all the creds, and that's why people book you internationally to speak on their stages and to coach their teams on leadership, because you have been trained by the best. And not only that, you're now at a stage of your career and you've got other people who can coach, your style, your programs with you and for you. So absolutely fantastic.
And look, it's people like you, Annie. I mean, we all learn from each other. So I just think that's the way to look at it now. I'm probably more curious now to find out how people have learned how to do things differently, what they put in place, what's worked for them, because we're all so individual. It's like that hand that we've got. I'm lucky to have two of them. And I look at it and I go, that's my handprint. No one else has got one like me. So it's okay to be you, Carrie. It's okay to be you, Annie. And look at it that way, not compare yourself to others, because we've gotten to this point where, the Logies were on last night here in Australia, and, they're all individual. I would have loved to have dressed up in a beautiful gown. I love fashion. I actually taught textiles and home science. That's my first career. But I just love all that. But it's your individuality and your uniqueness that really helps you continue to become who you are. I think you're just not content to be as you are. We're all works in progress. So that's why those Kokoda trips or those dips into different spaces where you can do some learning, shed some stuff. We don't need everything we've got. Shed it and really think about who you are and how can we have a little bit of a butterfly ripple around the world. If we all do it together, we've got a momentum. And I believe it's particularly women's time at the moment, even though we've had a pandemic where we could look at what's happened to women, but not just women. I'm a believer in the best person for the job. But I do think, women who advocate for each other, who shout out for each other, who aren't, against each other because it's competition. I do believe that we can actually make a whole lot of sense together. And we need new leadership. We need new leadership.
Exactly. Because we are role models for people coming through. So we need to, at our age, which is what we're doing globally at the moment. I agree. There's a massive surge of women rising and really finding their own space, but also for us to be role models that are respected, that are valued, because we didn't have often those role models. We didn't have our careers in those spaces. It was very competitive. Women were knocking each other out of the way because those positions were precious. And that wasn't pretty, and we've experienced that. But we also now are in these incredible roles, and it's an honor to be in those, that we're actually now showing women coming through, you know what, you don't have to be that woman. You can own your own space, be your own gal, have your own quirky style. In fact, that's right. After you look at all these successful people like the Logies last night, so those internationally listening in, that's our kind of Oscars. In Australia. And that's it. You look at that, you look at any singers, music awards, bits and pieces, all those people are so unique. You've got to be unique to thrive. You've got to be, you've got to know your own space, have your own unique value. And so while most of the world that we live in is very generic and tries to, be similar to others, actually, most of the people who rise above that are incredibly unique, right?
And you know what? I think you had the magic word in there. You made me just think. You said thrive, and I use the word thrive a lot, but it's not easy. It's not sometimes we make it look too glamorous, and you think, oh yeah, everyone's happy and blah blah blah. Well, you know what? There are days that are super tough where you've got to use that 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 to get yourself out of bed, right? You got to go and give yourself that high five in the mirror and say, oh my God, girl, you've got it, even though your hair's shocking today, right? You've got it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I just look at it and I go, I've learned some patience in going into business for myself. I've actually had to learn to be patient because I tend to be go, go, go. And, I was always, there was a job to be done. That's that notion of Mrs. Perfect years ago. But now I just go, you know what? I'm going to leave that dust there. I don't need to do that today. Not interested in that anymore. I'm interested in in connecting and saying hello to someone I haven't spoken to in a while and might be doing it tough, I'd rather do that or make another connection, COVID was a plus in a way because I got to go around the world probably more than they would have physically, right? So and you look, I believe people are intrinsically good, Annie. I just think there are so many of us that we've got some similarities and we've got some differences, and that's the curiosity. I think it's fascinating finding out about people's stories. And my gosh, as you know, people's stories are phenomenal.
Oh, so phenomenal. I'm like you. I just now touch people around the world every day, actually. It's just such a joy for me. And obviously, we're in a similar space in that way. And oh my gosh, every person I meet now, you just go, incredible stories. You just dig a little bit, not much even. And it's just like stuff just explodes, and it shows you how diverse people are and that their challenges, are real challenges, unpredictable challenges, things that they, may never have believed would have happened to them. But then through them, and not that we love it when we're there, through them, you grow. Through them, you eventually thrive because it just makes you dig deep, right? It makes you evaluate your, your values, your responses, your, why am I reacting this way and other people don't? How can I somehow turn it into a positive? I've got a number of people who are now running for purpose organizations because of their challenges and their situations. And that's a really great thing because they're so friggin' passionate about them and have that never say never attitude, or give it a hot shot in Carrie's words. So what have you found about people when you're getting asked to speak on leadership globally? Are there different requests from different areas of the world, or is leadership in your perspective?
I often get asked to talk about, the personal, the sort of what the personal side of leadership is. So what your personal values, beliefs, and assumptions are, and how you can be more focused on the people that you're leading. So to lead others, you actually have to be able to lead yourself. And understand yourself. So I get asked to talk about that. I still have a really strong interest in education, and so a lot of the groups are education based. More and more, it's about we're in a mode now where we're talking self-care, in being able to be all things to all people, which is a hard job. It's a bit like politics. Really, I think. And so, you can't, I don't believe you can be all things to all people all the time. You actually have to be strategic. You have to be able to be human-centered. And I really like this notion of understanding that your heart, your value system has a huge role in your leadership. So that's one of the others. Look, I basically general sticky beak and busybody about leadership, but I'm an advocate for the elders of the tribe being there to mentor and coach and be a support for our young leaders. So very, very strong around mentoring and the role, or how organisations have dismissed a lot of their experienced people because they're seen as old, or there's some ageism there, or they're seen as outdated. But if we actually go beneath the surface, we can actually see, well, for them to have had a career in this industry, they've actually got some huge skills, and we shouldn't put them out to pasture. We should actually use them we should use them as the elders, like our Indigenous communities. You know, I've got a really strong connection with a company called Culture College, and they look at supporting our Indigenous people, particularly the Yolngu from Arnhem Land. So I've taken groups of leaders into spaces on country where they can really shed what they're doing, but really go deep into understanding what the 60,000-year-old culture can actually teach us about the way we lead today. And just understanding the kinship of our Indigenous, particularly in Australia, our mobs here, is just fascinating. It's quite ordeal, but it is respectful. There's a huge respect. It's grounded in respect and a care for what we have been given and what we live on. And I think that's something that that most leaders are actually looking at. You know, whether you're running or CEO of a large company, doesn't matter what industry you're in, people are still involved. Not all industries have lost people. That's a bit of a misnomer. We can use artificial intelligence and mechanisation for good purposes as tools, but we still have people. So it's hashtag
absolutely.
People are the profession. Yeah. You
know, if you look at some, you know, even here, I've got a colleague who works at PwC. It's like 10,000 staff, you know, and or if you work at the airport, it's like, you know, you could have 100,000 people on your books. You just don't, you know, people are still, you know, the whole center of any organization, you know, whatever that organization is. And let's face it, we give it the personality, we give it the flavor, and sometimes that's challenging to sort of streamline. But you know, it's part of it. I absolutely love what you do in that Indigenous space, and I think an experience like that is I love the word that you use there, too, respectful. You know, it's not to just go and look and you know, and it's someone's, this is their life, this is their land, this is, you know, the way they are, but to actually allow that opportunity for people to strip back, if you like, all of the superhuman stuff or the titles. You know, it's not, you're not then the CEO or the manager or the this or that. You're just a person in an environment, learning to respect it, learning to see different ways of being and knowing and understanding, and how messages are communicated and passed through multi-generations. I think that is so fantastic. One thing I think is challenging too, when you spoke before, is that, you know, when you mentioned that ageism, there's a couple of factors there. Yes, there is ageism in workplaces. And I remember once when I recruited even a man, I think he was only 54 or 56 or something. And after I recruited him, he just came back to me with these, you know, we'd done everything and he was on his first day, and he just came and squeezed my hand. He went, "Annie, thank you so much for taking a gamble on an older man, you know, and like at this stage of my life." He obviously thought it was going to be very, very difficult. So not just for women. And I was really touched by that. I went, oh my gosh, I was the opposite, going, oh my gosh, I'm so blessed that you're at the end stage of your career. You're going to have so much wisdom, knowledge, this and that, but it's a real factor. So I think ageism is still there. On the other side, though, is for women, often women undervalue that expertise. I constantly get dazzled by how once people have done some of my coaching programs and how friggin' awesome they are at that stage of life, becoming entrepreneurs and doing things. Because once they realize their mojo and go, shivers, I am pretty awesome, I have done a lot of things, whether it's in a professional or a personal space, just life space, they have so much more value. Why do you feel that women still undervalue that, or haven't really processed, I have so much to give and I'm happy to then give it? They always think someone better, someone more important would be doing that. Whereas we need to actually realize we all have something to give, right?
Why? I don't know whether we get bogged down in what has been, what's gone before us, or I remember my dad, he's been gone 10 years now, but I remember him saying to me, "Oh, you should go into teaching. It's it's a great career to have. So you can do both things. You can earn some money and you can bring up your kids. Now, nearly all of us, there's 4 girls, and nearly all of us were moved basically very, very strongly influenced into teaching. And I look at that as a positive, but I also look at it as that family of origin influence has been mammoth. So it's a gift. It's a gift for me. I can look at it and go, I'll take this bit and I'm just going to flip the other bit upside down because I don't agree with that. And that's how I look at it. And one of the things that I did for our kids was allow them to have their own point of view, because my family of origin, it was a particular point of view, right? So I've got a few decades under the belt. Yeah. So it was a particular point of view. And it's very funny because I call them the licorice all sorts. And they're actually quite happy to be called the licorice all sorts, because it means that they're similar composition, the licorice and the candy.
Yeah.
Right? But they're all different shapes, sizes, colours. But they have a common value system, but it can look different.
Yes.
It can look different. And so I sort of valued that, because I think no longer do I have some of the same values. I actually seek out different ways of doing things quite deliberately for the next generation.
Yeah.
So I think for women, often that family of origin has a massive impact, and that notion that was drummed into us to be, to look the part, not to tell everybody how you're feeling, blah, blah, blah. So I think that's a big thing. I also think we have had a very male-based hierarchical world. But if you look at politics, religions, even education, who gets the opportunities. So it's time just to flip that around. And I don't know. That's from my point of view. For everyone will be different. Now, if you suffer from a mental illness, or if you have major illnesses that continue to impact your type of life, you're probably going to have some different views on what you can and can't do. I don't think we grew up in a country that was as inclusive and diverse as we taught. I think the rhetoric was there, but not the action and the behaviour, and I think that impacts as well. I don't know. What do you think? What would you say?
I totally agree with all of that. I was definitely, my backstory, I've sort of pretty much, I became a nurse for those reasons. It was nursing or teaching, and I always wanted to be a business manager. And so, through 5 children and 3 degrees, I sort of did this massive bow curve and finally ended up to where I believed I should have been. Definitely could have been easier if I went from A to B instead of, A to Z. But saying that, it's also enhanced, once again, my journey, because I've done the road less traveled. I've multi-juggled everything. And that's actually probably one of the biggest value adds in my coaching, because this woman's friggin' gone and done the hard yards and done it, all that sort of thing. I love, though, it's about awareness and it's a ripple effect. I love what you said with the butterfly effect before too, is that once we are aware of that, I was that sort of thing. My brother went to private school. I went to public school. They were encouraged to do, the business things, even though they didn't do it. And I was sort of like, just do that, do something safe, because then you'll be a better mum, and all that sort of thing. So it was really interesting. Now, was that bad? There's no judgment on that, because that was the era. Society does what society accepts, right? And so I don't look back and go, well, they're terrible people. They just wanted you to, that was what people did. Yeah. Saying that, when we had this awareness in our culture, exactly that, you call yours licorice, all sorts, and I walk around and go, life's like a box of chocolates. We got lots of chockies in this house, and that's exactly it. One of my sons has become a fintech founder, another one works in anti-money laundering or something, and one of them's a teacher, one of them's been a baker, one of them's doing statistics, whatever. They're so different, and the difference, if you actually then flip that and go, well, here I even in my family, why would 4 daughters or 4 kids in your family all be great for teaching like they might have been, but statistically probably not all the same. So it's one of those, we all used to do the same sport, whereas now when I raise mine, it's like, well, one did ballet, one did whatever. Now it makes it hard, but it brings out their uniqueness and their authenticity. And And I think moving forward, we've been a generation that hopefully has actually gone and encouraged that difference and follow your dreams and your hearts. Now, it's not always easy, because sometimes the road usually traveled is an easier one than some of my kids who just change degrees 3 times and try and work it all out the modern way. But at the end of the day, I have a belief that you actually get there, right? You go, well, no one's pushed me here. I don't have that resentment. I haven't done 4 years at university and go, I never really wanted to do this degree anyway, and now I'm a bit miserable. At least you've followed your path. And I think it has been an awakening of our generation. It's now to go through this next generation of, them, which are really different. I've got 4 Gen Ys and 1 Gen Z. And oh my gosh, like even in generational changes, it's so different in their mindset and their thinking and the way they operate. So I think it's just we're all evolving, and I think society hasn't supported women in that way. I think now we've got a bit of a global roar happening, which I absolutely love, from women saying we need to do things better. The statistics on pay gap and women in positions of influence and power are really poor, and they've gone actually backwards in the pandemic, because so many women have self-sacrificed to then raise children and their jobs and so forth. So I think that the pulse is we've got to get this right. So that's why I absolutely love having these conversations. Let's shift to Kokoda. So what a kick-ass woman you are. I absolutely love this. What made a woman, and I read on your backstory, you hadn't even been camping, for goodness sake, and then you decided, hey, I'm going to do something really extreme. I'm going to go and do the Kokoda Trail in Papua New Guinea, for those who aren't aware of Kokoda, which is one of the hardest treks in the world. What made you think, I'm going to do this? Did it just feel like a good idea at the time? And how was your experience, and what did you learn along the way?
Well, my husband said to me, "Are you stark raving mad?" That was number one. Luch said, "Are you stark raving mad?" I remember ringing Danny and he going, "Oh, for crying out loud, what's wrong with you, girl?" Well, at the time, it was Pud. My nickname for Dad was Pud. I'm the eldest of 6 kids, and it was always Pud. So it never, Look, I did it because we were having a wedding, and at that time, that meant that my son was going to be moving to a different state. I wouldn't see him like I would, and his family would be up there and not overseas, just interstate, across the New South Wales border. The other part of it was, so that's a ripple effect, because he's doing that, and then the others are all starting to leave home and do their stuff. So there were some major changes. So I got to 50, and you often people will say, that these are land. It's only a date carry. It's only, but I just went, okay, I really need to think about what I'm going to do, because I've been very loyal daughter, always in service to the family, but basically to the point where you blow a couple of discs in your back and, some of the health issues, because you're exhausted or you're tired and, you're trying to be all things to all people. I thought you actually need a bit of time. You need to get on top of the ridge up there and scream your heart out because, and so I decided I actually changed role at the same time. So I'd done work as a parent educator, and so then I'd gone into learning and development. So I moved offices, so a whole new lot of people. I'm going, right, is this really what you want to do? So a lot of questions started to come up, and you're getting a little bit older. You're looking back and you're going, right, have you done really what you want to do? Blah, blah, blah. Not only are you getting older, your partner's getting older as well, and you're going, oh my lordy, what's going to happen to both of us? Will we be together once the kids leave, right? There's a whole lot of questions that do go through your mind, and some people will say there's just too much going on up there. Anyway, I did it. And it was absolutely perfect, because by the time we got back the next day, by the time we got back into Owa's Corner and Moresby, the next day was Anzac Day. So we had Anzac Day in Bamana Cemetery.
Wow.
But Annie, I've got to tell you, it was the most mammoth thing I have ever done in my whole life. Mammoth. So you can hear that. And I still have memories. So I wasn't the fittest of all the group. There were 60 of us. They divided us in the half. I went with Charlie Lynn, who's been an upper house MLC here in New South Wales. My eldest son had actually done it with him when he was in the Young Libs a year or so before that. And I went, that's it. I'm doing it. And I just went, yeah, I just need to do it. So I knew nobody. At that time, I knew nobody. But at the airport, I realised that somebody's daughter, someone that I knew, daughter was on the group. And I went, oh, okay, so there's interesting. During the walk, one night, I had to be rescued by 3 porters. I think I was close to really passing out of this world. I was wrapped around a rubber tree. It was monsoonal rain, and we were on part of a track that had just been discovered. So Charlie had sent us off. So 3 of the guys, I had to actually let go of my hands around the rubber tree, and it was basically straight down the ridge, and I had to let go and trust people I didn't even know. So 3 guys pulled me up, and I came into camp that night shaking. And it wasn't until I was, they all the rest had kept food for us. There was only 2 others that came in late, and I was one of them. And this other guy just said, and I realised that I knew Trevor. We'd been on parent groups representing.
What's the likelihood?
So that was the second one. And then the third one was during the walk, this particular day, I just kept saying, is anyone here called Peter Davis? Anyone here called Peter Davis? All of a sudden on this particular day, Charlie had told me, he said, yeah, Pete's coming along. He works for, he's part of the group. And this particular day, this voice goes, I'm Peter Davis, who wants to know? So I could not believe what happened, right? Those 3 people. And he goes, Carrie, and in those days I would have been known as Caroline. That was the official birth name. And he and I both left for a couple of years of boarding school from the country town we grew up in. Yeah. And it was phenomenal. I went, of all the places, of all the things to happen to me. So what is this thing about connection? So, so that's strong. But I lost 7 toenails. I had no skin on the back of my heels. And I was black and blue down side because it was unseasonably wet. I lost 10 kilos in 8 days. So that's how hard.
That's life-changing. Yeah, that's hard work. Oh, my gosh.
And the piece de resistance was the guy I had, the porter I had, a lovely guy called Jobson. He was he'd done some accountancy, he had his own little business, but it was still an honour to be a porter for the Kokoda Trails. He said to me as we walked into Kokoda the last day, his mates were coming towards us, and they're all speaking in Pidgin, and I'd picked up a little bit, but not a great deal. And he said, Carrie, they're talking about you. I said, oh, what are they saying? They said, you must be one strong woman because you shouldn't have finished. We airlifted 5 people out of 30. We airlifted 5 people out because of injury and I came home. For crying out loud, why would I come home? So I reckon it's all here, and whether you think I'm crazy or strong, it doesn't matter.
Well, I love it. I think it's both the same, right? I think because I get called crazy regularly too, and I think we're very similar in our energy and our mindset, and that's right. It might be a little bit crazy. Actually, it might just be mental toughness. That mental toughness actually goes and says, yeah, you think it's crazy. I actually just think all things are doable, and I've just got to work out the way to do it, and I've got to lean into it, and I've got to let people help me, and then be guided and trust. There are so many learnings. I know, right? When I did Everest Base Camp and high passes, that same sort of thing. You go every step, you go, oh my gosh. And when you get to those camps and you go, well, my head at times said, are you nuts? You're not going to get there, because everyone has these voices. And then you go, well, if I did it, then I can do it the next day, and I can do it the next day. And unless something unforeseen happens, then it's just one foot in front of the other, right? And you get there. Yeah, exactly. So I tell you what, total admiration and respect to you, Carrie. Incredible experience. Now you go through the core. Oh my gosh, this is phenomenal. I needed to do it. And the boldness, by the way, the boldness to go and do it by yourself, just go, yep, I'm just off and away. I'm having this 50 moment, and I'm going to come back as this, woman of, you've certainly got time on the trail to think think if you had a busy life and you feel like you haven't had time to stop, go on a trek, because then suddenly you get hours with your own thoughts. And it is life-changing though, right? And you often think, I don't know if you're like me, I used to think, oh my gosh, I wish I'd actually had this time, not to become self-obsessed, it's not self-absorbed, it's actually to get to know the raw you, and you having these moments, which is why some people have those gap years and go backpacking. I didn't. I just got pregnant and had kids. But
Me too.
it's so valuable to actually have these moments. How has that affected you then post 50? If you reflect back and go, shivers, I am a tough woman. I am capable. I am strong. I've done the seemingly impossible. I'm not an athlete. I haven't, I've done this. How has that changed you now?
Well, I look for opportunities. Basically, COVID's sort of slowed me down a touch, but I'll be back out doing walks and arranging stuff like that. But it's a belief. It's more about your self-belief, I believe. That's the change. So when I left the organisation I'd worked for 24 years, I just went right on my own account. I'm not waiting for someone to say, Carrie, you're too old, or we're rejigging again, or blah blah blah. So I went negotiated my own way out. And it's interesting when you talk to people that you worked with, when they say to you, have you got any and I start to smile because I know what they're going to say. Have you got any regrets about leaving? And I go, absolutely not. I said, I have learnt so much as well about myself in doing this, because I said, it's a Kokoda every day. It's right. Everyone has a Kokoda moment every day. I believe, will I or won't I? How do I stay consistent here? What are my thought processes? Who do I connect with that I trust to be my companions, but also my champions? How do I do that? How do I seek it out? So I'm like you, Annie. We can talk to anybody. I talk to anybody in the street. I bump into, now more than ever, I trust my intuition, and that was never the case. So now I'm going, actually, this is really cool. Why would I pick up the phone and there's an instant connection with somebody else, or someone saying, actually, I think you can help me. Why is that? So for me, it's really it's still, the bonus is still there. It's like you only walked it yesterday, and you're going, if you can walk through the Minari grass, right? With the water up to your waist, and you're pulling each leg out to make the next step, right?
Yeah.
You can bloody well do this, girl, right? So, and then you go, right, well, now it's time to rest. So the last couple of weekends, I've had the fire pit running here. I've been, just to put yourself around the campfire at the end of the day, put yourself around a campfire so you can actually look back and go, okay, this worked well today. What could you have done better? Let go of that. That's of no consequence. Don't even fill your head with that crap, because that's not going on anymore. Where do you want to go? So at the moment, we've got 7 little Australians. And so when I left, we didn't have that many, but I said, okay, the aim, kids, is to get you all on safari. Before all these animals are extinct, I want to get you there. So that's sort of the impetus to say, come on, you've got time. You've got time to do this, and see if we can't get them there. I mean, it's a metaphor, isn't it, for adventure?
Absolutely. I have no doubt that you will get them there. It's just, once you've set your mind to something, and what an opportunity and what a blessing to those little grandkiddies to have, have a nan who wants to show them this part of the world, to extend them and stretch them, and to give them a mindset that, always don't think where you are in your own context, even if it's fantastic, but it's not everything, right? There's always more. And it ignites that curiosity. I remember when we took our kids and we made them work in orphanages in Cambodia and doing different things around the world, and they cost us, and they're like going, other people go to Fiji and sit under a palm tree, and we're like going, yeah, I know, but now it's like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad we did those, because it gives them a worldview, and it gives gives them gratitude and appreciation, but it also gives them an attitude to pay forward, right? And I think we all need that. When I interview a lot of successful women around the globe, and I think once people have got to a stage that they're doing their thing and they know their worth, they know their value, they love it, they've had those growth learning opportunities, and then they go, you know what, I can actually give back now. I can, like you can take people to learn and respect about Indigenous areas, or you can take people on a safari, or you've got these things that you go, I've done this before, I've done that road, and I know its value, and I believe it's going to be valuable to someone else as well.
But there's a like in it is a metaphor for, so anything you just mentioned there is really suitable for our young people at school who are looking to, what are they going to do with their life, So it's sort of like the gifts of humanity that we can start at nearly any age, because I believe we actually are part of creating a different world at the moment. I think that's part of what our responsibility is, our interest perhaps, but it's more to do with, we're in the box a long time. We're only here. We're a little grain of sand, really.
Little speck. Yeah.
Little speck. So how can the little specks together work towards a world that's more humane? And at the moment, it's just Mother Earth is bubbling. She's going off, and you think about what's happening around the world, and you think, wow, we've now got health issues. So we're changing every day, and part of the work that you and I do is actually, how do you adapt to change? Because that's why we talk about thriving, because change it's a constant. It's a certainty. It's one of the certainties of life, is that we will deal with change. We'll be part of change. We'll be affected by change. Big and small. So I think the legacy of helping people deal with change, or working with people who want to be leaders of new change, that's huge. And that's a privilege.
It is a privilege. It is a privilege
and a challenge.
When people reach out to you at carriebenedet.com, what are they going to find? How can they connect with you, get involved with programs, workshops that you offer, Carrie?
Well, look, we've got a number of things. I work with individuals, whether it's career, whether it's a new role, whatever it is that's happening, that's basic work. We work with teams, leadership teams, and whole staffs. We have a range of programs that are around your self-awareness, to be aware of others, developing your own sense of self, your decision making, all that sort of thing that goes with whether it's just you, leading you, or your small business, or a team, blah, blah, blah. So we have those. We have a range of, we've got little program coming up, Fatigue Busters, that are end of year, financial year thing coming up. And they will be 10 fatigue buster skills that we'll be looking at. So there's a guarantee around that. We look at well-being and leadership. We look at, are you willing to do something, an assessment on yourself with those that you're working with, and help guide your program forward. We have a podcast called Thriving Matters, where I interview ordinary guys and gals like Annie Gibbins who are doing extraordinary things, right? So we've got a range of those. We've got micro tips that go up each week, just small things around your type of leadership, human-centered leadership, emotional intelligence. So we link all that together, and we have immersions. And our next immersion is on Yuin country, down south at Bateman's Bay on the Clyde River, and very boutique. But we bring together a space where you can really test out your values with like-minded leaders, but led by our Indigenous brothers and sisters, for an appreciation there. And they're powerful. We've been to Arnhem Land. We've been to live on the Marae on Wahiki Island together. We go down south. So we were going to India when COVID hit. So we will eventually be going further afield as well. So we'll just wait to see how the flights and the costs and everything settle down. So really, you get the magic trifecta of coaching, emotional intelligence, and leadership. It just goes together. You've got to know your people, and people aren't always easy. because they're trying to thrive at the same time as you are.
100%. And that's right. They're trying to thrive at the same time as you are, and they're evolving as well. None of us have got it right. You can suddenly look back and go, well, that's right. If you haven't sort of changed in some ways over the last few years, it's kind of like, well, you haven't challenged yourself enough. So, that's right. People are complex. Anyone who's worked in the area of HR, sort of, people I used to go, what did they do there? And now I go, oh, HR is just huge. Absolutely huge. Because that's right. We're also unique. We're all wanting different goals from where we're at. We're all on a journey. We've all got different backstories. But what the great thing is, though, it is that word awareness. Once you get that awareness and that self-reflection, and then understand, who you are and who you're wanting to be, and how that all fits in a place, I think that is just the bomb, right? It's just the total package.
Oh, and the other thing that I will also add, if you don't mind, on the website, we've got some masterclasses. So during COVID, we still went around the world and we brought together people who were cultural experts, someone in education, someone in business. It's quite a unique masterclass. So we've got 9 of those up there. And so if you're interested in just a different way, because for leadership, you really have to look outside yourself and your own sphere of influence. We tend to be in silos. So if we're looking at different ways, and the big question that we asked ourselves was, does culture affect leadership, or does leadership affect culture?
Ooh.
And so those masterclasses are on our website, as well as the tips, blogs, all that sort of thing. But you may be interested in the Global Leaders Thrive program. It's fantastic. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. And that's it. And because we're in a new post-pandemic world, it's right. Anyone in the world listening in can just go to carriebenedet.com. You can see her masterclasses. You can book in. You can chat to her about anything else that we've discussed today, or what's on your heart. She's here to serve you in this way. You've got a woman who's had a breadth of an entire couple of decades of industry experience, who's now gone and actually created a business, because this is the way we should do leadership. This is the way we can actually love our people. This is the way we can grow together in a very progressive way. You can see why I was attracted immediately when I met Carrie through my business networks, and that's exactly what it's about. It's about 2 women just going about doing our businesses, connecting, supporting each other, seeing opportunities. How can we help? That's right. As soon as I met Carrie, she's like, how can I help you? And it's kind of like, yes, we want to all be able to do that to each other, and we want to make it easy for that next generation coming through. And so even if you're not even thinking, you're not even calling yourself a leader, right? I took a long time to actually realize that, yeah, I'm a leader, but I didn't think in that way. So sometimes it's like you haven't got that self-awareness yet, but you want to be a leader. You want to love and grow your teams. You want to grow yourself. Then definitely have a little look at what Carrie offers, and I'm sure she will definitely have a place. And by the end of your coaching with her, you'll definitely be calling yourself a leader.
Hashtag just give it a red hot shot.
Give it a red hot shot, everybody. Well, thank you so much for being on my program today. It's been
thank you.
enjoyable conversation, and you just keep doing what you're doing. Absolutely fantastic. I love everything that you're on about, and all respect to you and your team, because you're doing a lot of things. You're giving a lot of value to your clients, and I think it's absolutely fantastic.
Perhaps we should have a walk together, Annie, with a couple
of
others.
I'm thinking we should. I think we should actually not only have a walk together, I think we should have a retreat, like I'm doing, like Lara Pinter next year, or things like that. We could actually have
That's what I was just about to say.
In Australia, and go, you know what, women, so sorry, it will be one of those physical, I can actually physically hug you and laugh at you and cheer you on experiences. But don't you think it's time for something like that? I'd be all into that. So let's have a little back chat and see if you and I can align. I'm sure we'll get a group of women who go, you know what, let's just do a trek. You don't have to lose 10 kilos in 8 days. It'll just be an achievable, like, let's just get you going. But the value is, the walk and talk is priceless, right? The value of getting yourself out of your comfort zone, stripping back, if you like, the all of the hats that we wear and that we juggle, and actually just to be and the mask. And then when you push yourself in little ways, you might need to walk through a little creek with a backpack, or you might need to, you might have a little stumble, and it's just in love and it's in growth, and you learn about yourself and you learn about other people, and you come back transformed, absolutely transformed. So yeah, I think we should definitely make it happen. Let's do it.
I was going to say to you, how about the Lara Pinter Trail when you said it?
See, we're just sisters. We're like twins, aren't we? Right? Well, I'm doing Lara Pinter in June, so hey, I've already got a booking. Maybe I should just extend it. My poor husband will get a surprise. I'll go, what? More people coming? Let's definitely talk about that. All righty, guys, we're always evolving, as you can hear on my podcast. There's always another opportunity, and we go, oh, once you get two curious minds in place, we're like, let's do that. I think that would be friggin' awesome, and I'm thinking that's a goer. All righty.
See ya. All right.